Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the 2018 Hack Summit. We're joined here by the CEO of the Origin Protocol, Josh Fraser, who's going to be telling us all about building marketplaces and market networks on the blockchain. And Josh, it's just a pleasure to have you here today. I know we only have about 30 minutes, so I just want to give you as much time as possible to dig in and teach everyone. So feel free to take it away.
Thanks so much, Ed, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this event. I've been looking forward to this since you first told me about it, and it's really amazing to be a part of this global community of people all over the world and see so many people participating, so many developers. It really is in line with what we're trying to build at Origin as well, with trying to have participants from all over the world. So let me share my screen here.
And audience, while Josh gets set up here, please feel free to ask any questions that you have as he gives his presentation, and we'll address those at the end. And Josh, if there's any questions you want me to ask the audience in a poll, just let me know and I'll type those in for you. And take it away.
All right. So since the creation of the internet, digital marketplaces have been bringing together buyers and sellers in ways that were never before possible. It started in 1995 with the launch of Craigslist, which took classifieds out of the newspaper and put them on the internet for the very first time. 1995 took it one step further and said the internet is this new technology that's bringing together every human on the planet and connecting them with every other human on the planet. And it doesn't matter that you live in the same geography. Now buyers and sellers have this digital town square where they can find each other and transact. And fast forward to today, and we have hundreds of these different types of digital marketplaces, and many of them are in this new category, which we call the sharing economy or gig economy. Companies like Uber or Airbnb, which take this idea of a digital marketplace one step further. And they say it doesn't even matter, you don't have to sell just atomic units of some item, or you can also sell fractional usage of different assets and services. And so the question we're asking ourselves every day at Origin, and the question I want you to think about today is this: what if we could replace every one of these multi-million and multi-billion-dollar companies with open source protocols which aren't owned or controlled by anyone? What if we could create marketplaces which are governed by a set of open and fair and transparent rules instead of the whims of these corporate rulers? What if we could create a protocol for a marketplace, something that's more akin to SMTP or any of these protocols that we as developers are familiar with? And so we're dubbing this the sharing economy without intermediaries. And what I want to talk about first is just why this is so important and meaningful for the world. So the first reason is pretty obvious, and that's the chance to lower fees. You see, the digital marketplaces we have today, the Ubers and Airbnbs of the world, they take 20, 30, sometimes 40% out of every transaction. And they provide a lot of services for that fee. But what we've seen is that over time, as these companies have become more and more like monopolies, instead of decreasing their fee, they've actually seized the opportunity to take a larger and larger cut. And when we're able to cut out that middleman, the fees go with it. And this is better for both the buyers and the sellers, where both people are getting a better deal. The seller is making a little bit more money. The buyer is able to save some money by cutting out that rent-seeking middleman. The second thing we can do is reduce censorship, and we can reduce the impact of overzealous governments coming in and shutting down these services. We've seen this in cities all around the world with companies like Uber and Airbnb being shut down and banned in cities all over the world. Even in our home city of San Francisco, Airbnb has been regulated to a point of almost being shut down. Uber is banned in London, in Vancouver, in the entire country of Argentina. In fact, it's so extreme that the government has actually partnered with ISPs to ban the domain uber.com from loading on the phone, and worked with the credit card companies to prevent people from being able to purchase service from Uber there. Obviously, if we can create a peer-to-peer marketplace, which is built on cryptocurrency, we don't have to face that limitation. The third thing that really matters here is the ability to redistribute the value to the people who are creating the most value in the network. So if you think about the first 100 drivers on Uber, the first 100 hosts on Airbnb, or really the first 100 participants in any digital marketplace, those companies wouldn't be here today without those early participants. But when Uber IPOs someday, how much of those guys going to be rewarded for their part in making the company what it is today? I had a ride the other day with a guy. He told me he was the 30th driver on Uber, and he's still driving for Uber today. And he's complaining because he's making less money today than when he first started. And when they IPO, he's not going to see a penny. And what blockchain does is it gives us a new revolutionary business model. It gives us a way to incentivize those early participants in the network and give them a stake in the network that we're creating. I'm personally really passionate about this, and that's how do we serve the unbanked or the underbanked people on our planet? We have about 2 billion people on this planet. We're supposedly unbanked. And therefore are shut out from using services like Uber and Airbnb and all these centralized marketplaces because they all have this pesky expectation that you have a bank account or a credit card to use. 2 billion people on this planet who don't have that, but most of them and a growing number of them have access to smartphones, cryptocurrency, and therefore have a chance to participate in these new peer-to-peer marketplaces. And for billions of people on this planet, the first digital marketplace they're ever going to use is going to be built on something like Origin. You can also think about it from a marketplace creator's perspective. If you wanted to create, say, a centralized alternative to Airbnb today, you would have to go city by city, country by country, setting up different banking relationships and following all of the local rules and regulations. If you create a new decentralized marketplace on something like Origin, it can be instantly global from day one. And that's obviously a non-trivial advantage for anyone who wants to do that. There's several other problems we should talk about around the existing marketplaces we have today that are siloed. We've seen the dangers of centralization in recent times, with Facebook getting a lot of flack for the way that they are using or abusing our data. And I think what we're seeing is the downside of giving too much power to these centralized players. And it gives them a chance to capture too much of the value instead of the participants in the network. The owners of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, captures all the value, whereas we are the people who are just providing that value to him. And of course, we know where this ends. It ends in a lack of innovation, and over time, more and more companies look more like Comcast or whatever the hated company in your country may be. And of course, we're subject to arbitrary rule changes. These centralized services can kick you off a platform anytime they choose, and we've seen that they have a propensity to do that. And so what we're creating at Origin, you can think of it as three really big things that we're creating. First, there are open source protocols, and these are the rules that govern the marketplace. And these are enforced on the Ethereum blockchain and are enforced by a set of smart contracts. And then on top of that, we're building developer tools. We realize that most developers don't know Solidity, and Solidity is a very challenging language to work in, and certainly if you want to write secure code. And so what we're developing are these developer tools that you can think of it a little bit like Stripe.js. Most of you are probably familiar with that. As long as you know a little bit of JavaScript, you can get up and running and accept credit cards in 10, 15 minutes. And you don't have to worry about all of the intricacies of the underlying archaic financial system. In the same way, we're trying to create developer tools. So Origin.js, you can get up and running, create your own peer-to-peer marketplace without having to understand all the ins and outs of how the blockchain works or how the intricacies of the Ethereum network. And then the last thing we're building is a community. And this is just as important as the technology we're building, because the value of Origin is largely based on the community of people we have around it, the people who believe in this decentralized future and are willing to help us make it a reality. And so we're built on Ethereum and IPFS, and we provide a lot of services around identity, reputation, transactions. And all of this is completely 100% open source. It's truly peer-to-peer. And so you can transact directly with other members on the platform without having to go through any centralized server whatsoever. And so what we're building, we have a couple core components, Origin.js and the Origin dApp. So Origin.js, like I said, is our JavaScript library. Interact with the Origin platform. And then the Origin dApp is, or decentralized application, gives you that user interface for creating and interacting with those listings. So you can do things like make a booking or view availability on some apartment that you want to book. And you can check all of this out for yourself right now. We're live on the Rinkeby testnet. So if you go to demo.originprotocol.com, you can see a live working demo. You can use MetaMask and create listings, and you can book listings yourself. So here's a quick video of that in action for you can see. Oops, let's see if we can get the video to play. All right, I can't seem to get the video to work here. I'll just talk through a little bit of the demo. And again, I encourage you, go check it out for yourself on demo.originprotocol.com, and you can see exactly how this works. You'll need to have MetaMask or some other Web3 enabled wallet in order to do this. So if you're on a mobile device, you can check this out using something like Toshi or Trust Wallet or Cypher. And if you're on desktop, you can install the MetaMask extension in Chrome or use the Mist browser. And then again, you'll want to switch to the Rinkeby network or the Ropsten network in order to check that out for yourself. From there, you can create a listing. So it'll ask you to enter the information, upload some pictures, and then you can publish that to IPFS, which is a decentralized file system. And then we just take a big blob of JSON that describes your listing, store that on this peer-to-peer distributed file system. And then we, because IPFS is content addressable, we can take that hash of that content and we can store that on a smart contract that lives on the Ethereum network. And all of this is cryptographically signed, so you can trust it from end to end. We're using a project called JSON Schema, which is a project from the Mozilla Foundation. And that allows us to have validation rules baked into our JSON. So we can have rules about what is and isn't acceptable on our platform. And then our smart contracts enforce all the rules we need around what are the rules for what this listing costs, what is the refund policy. You can track all the different state changes of whether the seller has sent the item, has the buyer received it. We have features like escrow as well. One of the big things that we've been focusing on lately is identity. And so we're really proud of the work we've been doing around that and how we can do identity on the blockchain. And so we've been working on this new thing called ERC 725, which is a proposal from Fabian from the Ethereum Foundation. For those of you who are familiar with blockchain, you may recognize him as the creator of the ERC 20 standard. He's also creator of Mist Browser and Web3.js. And so he's got this new proposal called ERC 725, which allows us to do identity on the blockchain. And what we can do is publish attestations, and so you can verify your identity and start hanging different bits of identifying information off of your Ethereum wallet. So you can do things like verify your email address or your phone number, and through a centralized server that you trust. And maybe in the future that would be some of the big brands and companies that you're used to trusting today. And then they'll publish those attestations on the blockchain. And now you can start building up a bit of that reputation and trust that other users need to have to feel comfortable transacting with you directly. So we have ratings, reviews, identity. And the reason we're focusing so much on identity to start is that's really a foundation for so many of the other features and functionality that we want to work on going forward. Things like insurance and arbitration. You really have to have that rock solid foundation of identity first in order to do those other features in a safe manner. So today we have about 40 partners that have already committed to building on top of the Origin platform. Spin are working on a project called PIN Protocol. They have, here in San Francisco, we see their scooters all over the place, and it's cool to be working with them. Service Heroes, a company out of Southeast Asia, some of you may know. They have hundreds of thousands of existing users and are porting their business over to the blockchain. So we have a wide range of companies, both existing marketplaces, which are porting to the blockchain, as well as new businesses that are just getting started. A little bit about our team. I won't go into everyone here, but I'll say we've got, on this slide, we've got 4 former Googlers. We have one of the 6 guys who created PayPal, was the founder of PayPal, first engineer at YouTube, head of engineering for Dropbox. And on the community side, we have Andrew Hyde, who's the founder of Startup Weekend, first employee at Techstars. And we have Kay, who's leading the charge on finance and operations for us and the CPA. So just an absolutely stacked team. And I'm really lucky to get to work with such incredible talent every single day. We're backed by some amazing investors, including Hack VC. And so really grateful to have their support and to be a part of this event today. And so what we're looking for are really 3 things. If you're a developer and interested in getting more involved, like I said, we're a 100% open source project. We have over 45 contributors on the open source side. We'd love to have you jump in. It's a great way to learn a little bit more about blockchain and have your first experience interacting with a decentralized team and on getting up to speed and learning how all this new technology works. If you have a marketplace business and are interested in building a truly decentralized marketplace on our platform, we'd love to talk to you. And of course, we're looking for strategic partners, investors, people who believe in this vision and want to be a part of it. We'd love for you to come check out what we're doing at originprotocol.com and get more involved. And so with that, I'm going to switch over and ask for any questions you guys might have.
Great. Thanks for the great presentation, Josh. Really appreciate it. So we've got a few questions that have poured in since you started chatting, and let's go through them together. So the first question is from Sergio Goldstein, who asks, what about the processes to ensure that the participants are trustworthy? In a decentralized marketplace, who bears the risk of a fraudulent transaction?
So I think what we're seeing is not that you don't need to have trust. The question is, where does that trust come from? Does it come from a centralized authority that gets to choose on a whim what it is, or can we enforce that through a set of open, fair, and transparent rules? And that is our goal. Blockchain has, what Bitcoin taught us was the importance of incentives. Incentives are the best way to predict an outcome. And so what we can do is create processes and incentives to drive that behavior. And so what we're looking at is how do we do that in a more decentralized way? How do you have, if something needs to go to arbitration, how do we pick a jury of people to arbitrate that and make sure that you get taken care of?
Great, thank you for that. And in the chat, while you were speaking, what schooled by was a question from Noah Shannon, who asked, in this decentralized world, who would maintain the Uber-like app in that environment, and how would that party be compensated?
Yeah, so again, it comes back to incentives, and we need to design a system that incentivizes everyone to be a part of it. We're building a dApp ourselves, which you can use, and you also be able to run your own dApp. And we also envision a world where our partners are running their own dApps as well. Many of our partners are doing their own ICOs. They're raising lots of marketing dollars themselves. And so their incentive is to get as many people using their dApp and their own platform as well. And we're just making it a lot easier for them to get up and started. So you can think of it as really as developer tools creating these new protocols that other people can build on top of. Some of the existing business models
looks like we got a little bit of a video stutter there for Josh. I'll come back to him in just a second when his video reconnects. All right, it looks like Josh is back. Sorry, your video stuttered there. Say that one more time, Josh, so we could fully get what you said.
Yeah. So So where did you lose me? Sorry.
Just the last sentence or two, maybe.
So the incentive, it's all about how do we, so our partners are built.
Looks like Josh has had a little bit of. Looks like you just disconnected again there just for a second there, Josh. So why don't we just move on to the next question since we're out of time. But hopefully you got most of that answer from Josh. And Josh, maybe toggle off your video and just go to audio, and that might help to keep the bandwidth low on your end, and that way we can hear you. So I'll go ahead and just mute your video, but keep your audio going so you can answer the questions. Does that sound good? Great. So the next question is from Sid. And Sid asks, what is the need for Origin as a protocol when the things that you talk about in the white paper can be achieved using a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization? So how does that differ from what you could build with Origin?
So I think DAOs are very interesting ideas that we definitely want to explore. A lot of this stuff is still really new and untested. And so, we're very interested in how we can relinquish control to the community. And we really believe that we're building something that's too important and too meaningful for the world for any one entity or company or person to control and own. And so at the same time, we know that we need to be guardians of this technology, and we also know we're not going to get everything right in the first try. And so we have this sort of balancing act to do, where in the beginning we need to create a lot of this technology and get it started, but we're really wanting to create something that's bigger than ourselves. And we're creating these tools to allow developers to create these marketplaces very, very easily. And if we're successful, we're going to absolutely change and revolutionize the way that people do business on the internet. And that's why we're doing it. We think that's why we're building this, and this is why we think this matters.
Great, thank you, Josh. Next question is from Justin. When will the token launch?
So we're looking at, we're working really hard towards a mainnet launch, and the tokens wouldn't be released until that time. And so we're striving for a Q3 launch of the platform, and we're making really good progress on that front. So we should be live Q3.
Great, thanks. And then Azam asks, how can a developer make money utilizing your D app? What is the business model that an independent developer out there can take advantage of?
Yeah, so there's multiple ways we think about this. One would be through sort of traditional things, value add business model where you can pay for extra services or things that you might provide. For example, you may have promoted listings or something like that, which you would charge money for. And another option, and a lot of the companies in the space are looking at this new model where it's all about token economics and incentives, where you create your own token, and then as more people use that token, demand for that token increases, and then your value in that token, obviously, and your stake in that token increases as well, and you benefit from currency appreciation. And so that's true of a lot of projects in this space, and a lot of our partners are thinking about it in the same way as well. And it's so early. There's a lot of experimentation going on right now. A lot of people experimenting with trying out these different business models and seeing what makes sense and what doesn't.
Great. And let's take one more question from Emmanuel, which is, how would a decentralized version of, say, Uber be legal to use in a country which bans the centralized counterpart, such as a country like Venezuela?
Sure. So we can't change the laws, and I'm not saying that it would be it would be legal, and we certainly encourage people to obey the laws in their jurisdiction. We also realize that a lot of times the laws lag behind, and innovators have to sort of push the limits a little bit. And what we're suggesting here is that while we can't change the laws, we can remove that single point of failure. And what happens is governments can come in, often overzealous local governments that don't understand technology, can come in and with one fell swoop shut everything down. And so what we're doing is we're removing that single point of failure. And now the onus is on the individuals. We're putting the power back in the hands of the consumers to make those decisions for themselves.
That's great. And then a couple quick questions from me before we go here. So what is the purpose of the token? You've created this token. What value does that serve in the ecosystem?
So again, it goes back to what the lessons that Bitcoin has taught us on the power of incentives to drive behavior. And a quote from Charlie Munger is, "Show me the incentives, and I'll show you the outcome." And for us, it's like we want to make sure that our marketplaces aren't filled with scammers and fraudulent behavior. And so we can use the token as a mechanism where you have a disincentive to be a bad actor, because you'll lose money if you're shown to be a bad actor. And on the flip side, we can incentivize the behaviors that are beneficial for the network. So things like making bookings, leaving reviews, inviting your friends. Those are all actions that we want to encourage. And that token is an incentive mechanism to make sure that happens.
Great. And if the developers in the audience are curious to learn more, either maybe to work for you or to work with you or to take advantage of your technology, what are their next steps?
Yeah, so we're not only are we 100% open source, but we also do all our collaboration in public as well. And so we're really unique in that sense. And so you can jump into our Discord. It's open to the public, and you can see, the founder of PayPal chatting with early YouTube employees about how we should implement a certain feature on Origin. And so we have, like I said, over 45 contributors who've sort of just come in and started working on our project. It's a great way to learn. It's a great way to build your own personal network. And it's a great way to be on the cutting edge of this new technology. So you can check out our GitHub. You can check out our Discord. All the links you need are on our website at originprotocol.com. We have a special developers landing page. It's /developers. And it has all the links you need to get started from there. One thing I'll just flag is we have a weekly engineering call. It's completely open to the public. Anyone can join, and we have it every week. And we just talk through exactly how we're building this thing. And it's a great way to learn more about what we're up to.
That's awesome. I love the transparency there. Even before the product is fully launched on mainnet, you're already having these open, transparent calls with the public. It's a very different way of thinking than how people built projects in the past. And so I commend you for that.
Thank you. And I think that's how you build trust, is that people can see, how we're thinking about it, and it allows the community to keep us honest as well.
Yeah, transparency engenders trust. I've learned that as a manager and as a developer myself. Every time there's siloed data, or you have to ask someone to give you a status report on something or something like that, right? That's all just mistrust that's being communicated. Prove to me that you're working on something. Prove to me that the system you're creating works. If you just have a transparent organization, then all that suspicion goes away. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Josh. We learned a lot today. Super inspired by your project. And developers, please check out the Origin protocol. I'm sure they could use your help either as a collaborator or to take advantage of their technology. And so I encourage you to do that. And thanks again, Josh.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Ed.
Great. We'll be right back here just in a minute with Tammy Camp and Sean Bennett, who are co-founders of a new type of distributed exchange called Stronghold. We'll learn all about that, plus regulatory concerns and liquidity and all that stuff that happens with exchanges. So stay tuned in. We'll be right back. Thanks again, Josh.
Take care.